Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March 10th. I'm Stu Glickman, Director of Fundamental Research for CFRA. With me today is Frank Olivieri, Senior Defense and Foreign Policy Analyst with CFRA. And in today's conversation, we're going to talk Iran, Strait of Hormuz, and the defense angles that go along with it. Obviously, we're only about a week into this war between US and Iran. And I think the Strait of Hormuz is everyone's focal point right now. There had been in the past something like 125, maybe 120 tankers transiting the straits every day. That number has been dramatically lowered. So, Frank, my first question to you is how close to normalcy are we at this point in the strait? Is it still, really bare bones, the numbers of tankers going through? Or, how would you characterize the situation?
I would definitely say that we are at a bare bones. And in fact, it's quite murky, but there are indications that that the Iranians may actually be allowing certain of their kinds of tankers moving in and out. There are reports in Bloomberg and other places citing sites that track shipping through there, that it does appear that some shipping is getting through and that it actually may be Iranian shipping that's getting through. It's hard to pin that down, but we have seen a significant stoppage essentially across the board of any major shipping moving through. It's orders of magnitude less.
So if you think about, obviously, it's not just Iranian vessels, you have foreign flagged vessels that normally make their way through there. And Iran has threatened to set ablaze, oil tankers under foreign flags. Let's talk about Iran's military capabilities at this point to play offense. How difficult can they make life for foreign flagged vessels? Is it a question of, missiles that they can launch at tankers? Is it a question of drones? Like, how legitimate is that threat?
Very legitimate. And let me just set the scene, right? So the geography of the strait is brutal. It's about 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. The Iranian coastline is 1,500 to 1,600 miles long. The entire southern flank is elevated terrain. The Zagros Mountains essentially run down to the water in many places, giving Iran a natural high ground overlooking shipping. And vessels transiting the strait basically all are in range of shore-based anti-ship missiles, artillery, drones, fast attack boats operating from inlets and coves all along the entire coastline. We already that it would essentially be monumental effort to try to stop everything. Certainly, if we've killed 42 major Iranian ships, the Navy, so to speak, that's one thing. I don't think we viewed those warships as a grave threat because they're big targets. It's these speedboats. It's the little things that they do that we have shown a real significant inability to counter. We have done wargaming on this in the past. And in the wargaming of trying to clear this with the Navy doing the fighting, we lost a significant portion of an aircraft carrier battle group in the studies. So we have seen this play out in studies before, and it doesn't play out well. So the president making a comment about yesterday saying, well, he's thinking about taking over the strait. Well, that would require a significant ground operation in mountainous terrain and in inlets and areas that essentially the United States military really isn't prepared for. I mean, certainly could they do it? Sure. But at what cost? And to what degree would this run and how long would it take? These are very difficult. So yes, in terms of just the weaponry, there's drones, there are missiles, there is mining that's potential. There are these speedboats that could be suicidal in nature or that they have the ability to fire missiles. So this is an enormous challenge to get anything through the strait. And by the way, anybody who's thinking about convoys work as a deterrent when you are trying to say to the other guy, don't do anything, because if you hit us, now that's a tripwire for us to come after you. When you're in a war, you're making your warships more vulnerable. Essentially, you'd be wasting warships. They would love it if we put warships into the strait so that they could potentially sink them.
Thank you. I just want to follow up a little bit about ground troops that you mentioned. If you wanted to take over the strait, the ground troops, they would be there mainly to kind of unseat whatever mountain-based attack options that Iran had. Yeah.
You would have to go in, and the only way you'd have any surety of security there is if you actually controlled the areas. And you would have to control it not just at the coastline. You would have to push inland to create this kind of strategic depth that gives you protection in the strait if that's in fact what you're trying to achieve to control it. So it is a significant undertaking to do this. And remember that these areas in southern Iran along the coastline, these are highly populated areas as well. This is not going to be any simple walkthrough. Personally, I view the president right now, when he's thinking aloud like this, it suggests that he perhaps doesn't, that he feels maybe a little bit trapped by the circumstances, and now is just casting about for ways to extricate himself from what has become a much more challenging war than I think he had hoped.
Thanks, Frank. So let's flip it around a little bit. Instead of talking offense, let's talk defense. If you're the head of U.S. Armed Forces and you're trying to protect tankers going through the strait, what assets do you need in place? And are we anywhere close to that level of assets that you would need?
Yeah, honestly, the best defense is a very good offense at this point. The idea that you would attrit the enemy and take away their ability to launch these kinds of assets, or even to reduce the numbers of weapons that they actually have to launch. That's very hard to do, especially with drones. They have thousands of those. We've already seen, a very large number of drones, more even than the ballistic missiles they've launched. So that first defense is that offense. In terms of defense for the Navy in place, vertical launch tubes, these ships carry these vertical launch tubes. They launch a variety of different weapons, not just SM-3s, but other things as well. These vertical tubes, or they VLS systems, these VLSs can't be reloaded at sea. So the ships that are out there using their weaponry, they would have to leave the region to begin to restock. And maybe there would have to be a cycling in of other destroyers to replace the ones that are cycling out. So it is, and they have been expending munitions defending not just these land targets that the Iranians are firing at, but they're expending munitions also to defend themselves from drones and other things. By the way, we can talk about the math of using a very exquisite missile defense system to knock down a relatively cheap drone. That is a cost paradigm that we're not happy with. So essentially, the best way to deal with this is offensively taking down as much of the Iranian capability. But Iran is a massive country. There's a lot of targets out there. There's a lot of places they can hide things. And so it's not so easy as that to do. So yeah, we will have difficulty, defending if it's missile on missile, because we only have so many at a time. And then there's the grave difficulty of just continuing these offensive operations to try to find and destroy the weapons that they actually have. And there are thousands and thousands of those.
Okay. Thanks so much for your participation today. For folks listening to this conversation, just wanted to say, if you're interested in defense or energy or any other topics that we talk about in markets, please visit www.cfraresearch.com for more information.